When we think about enemies in most games, they're usually monsters, robots, or some kind of creature trying to attack the player. But when I started designing Eternal, I wanted enemies to feel very different. Instead of creatures, the things attacking the player are actually instabilities in the universe itself, disturbances in the energy field, resonance events, coherent structures forming out of unstable energy. So today I want to talk about how these systems work and how the universe in Eternal usually pushes back on the player. Eternal is built around the idea that the universe is made of interacting fields. Gravity fields, energy fields, particle systems, all interacting with each other. The player is essentially moving through the system and manipulating it. But the moment you start disturbing those fields, the systems react. Energy begins to build, instability increases, and eventually the field produces excitations. So the enemies in Eternal aren't really enemies in a traditional sense. They're more like symptoms of instability. To control how the instability grows, the game uses something I call an escalation system. As energy builds up in a field, the system moves through different tiers of activity. At lower tiers, the environment is relatively calm, but as escalation increases, the field becomes more chaotic and more dangerous phenomena begin to appear. This means the battlefield evolves over time. The longer the player destabilizes the system, the more intense the reactions become. The smallest disturbances in the field are called energy excitations. Those are essentially small packets of energy moving through the system. They behave almost like particles in a field, drifting along the surface of the planet and reacting to the player. Individually, they aren't that dangerous, but when escalation increases, they start appearing in larger numbers and begin applying pressure to the player. Their main purpose is to create motion and chaos while the field builds towards larger events. When energy becomes coherent, it can start forming structures. In Eternal, those structures appears as something called Lattice Cascades. Those are energy nodes that connect together and begin to grow across the surface of the field. If the player ignores them, the lattice keeps expanding, and the larger it grows, the more dangerous the system becomes. So the player has to actively destabilize these structures before they get out of control. One of the larger systems I've been working on recently is something called a field resonator. This object drifts across the energy field and amplifies wave activity. When it anchors itself, it begins emitting pulses that propagate across the surface of the planet. Those pulses interact with energy nodes and can trigger larger chain reactions in the field. So instead of directly attacking the player, the resonator is actually manipulating the entire environment. One of the main goals with Eternal is that enemies feel like natural systems instead of scripted AI behaviors. Everything in the game is designed to behave like physical phenomena. Energy spreads, waves propagate, structures form. As the player is navigating those systems while trying to keep the universe stable. Building systems like this is one of the things I enjoy most about working on Eternal. I love the idea that the game mechanics can be inspired by real physics concepts. It's not meant to be scientific simulation, but the ideas can come from real principles about how fields and energies behave. And translating those ideas into gameplay has been a really fun designing challenge. The next system I'm planning to build is something based on quantum entanglement. Two entities connected across the field that influence the grid in different ways. That should open up doors to some really interesting mechanics and puzzle-like encounters. Thanks for following along with the development. If you enjoy physics-inspired gameplay systems and watching games evolve from the ground up, make sure to subscribe so you can see how Eternal continues to grow.